Shalom. I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, and the honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother, I am Noah Allah from GMI Chicago, and coming back to you with another lesson. And today's topic is, basically going into this November 1st about, the government shutdown having to, cut off the SNAP benefits, all right, which the majority of our people rely on, all right, but not just our people only, but a large amount of Edomites too that rely on these SNAP benefits, right? But nonetheless, these SNAP benefits are about to be taken away from Jake, and it's gonna drive a lot of people insane. But it says with food stamps set to dry up November 1st, SNAP recipients say they fear what's next. It says roughly 42 million Americans rely on food stamps that arrive every month on their electronic benefit transfer cards. Now, it says 42 million citizens, right? 42 million that are relying on these assistance programs, right? But the number is probably way higher than that. Plus, you got federal workers, all right, that are going without pay and are having to turn to food banks. And not only that, too, but food banks are running dry as well, all right? And what food banks are is basically a center where they give out free food to those that are in need, all right? They can barely afford groceries and shit like that. And now you got you got federal workers that are turning to food banks, but we're talking about 41 million people, probably higher than that, plus the federal workers that are not getting paid, all right, and are turning to food banks. And you can already see that all hell is about to break loose. Shit's about to hit the fan. It's right around the corner, all right? Because these people are going to go on full panic mode when they don't receive these assistance programs. Because what? They're going to be stealing, all right? Even these Edomites are going to be stealing. These federal workers are going to be stealing in these grocery stores. And it's going to cause shelves to look empty, right? But not only that, the working class, of course, the middle class, it don't matter if you're rich, it don't matter if you're the working class, all right, you will be affected by this because you will see that everybody else is stealing, right? And it's going to put you in the mindset of desperation. These people are going to be in the mindset of desperation, all right? They're going to be desperate because, mainly, they're going to be thinking about, damn, since I don't have these assistance programs, how will I feed my children? How will I feed my family? When will be my next meal? This is what's going to be in the minds of these people, all right, when they will no longer receive their assistance programs, their SNAP benefits and shit like that, all right? Same thing goes for these, the middle class families, all right, the middle class household, all right? They're going to be seeing these people stealing in the grocery stores, and they're going to want to do the same too, all right? Because they're also going to be feeling like, damn, why is this shit happening? Like, I don't, what the fuck is going on? The shelves are running empty. I better do something real quick. I better react. All right. This is what's literally going to be in the minds of people, right? 6 years ago, all right, Esau used the tactic of fear, all right, to lock everybody down in their homes, all right, during the C-19, right? And now he's using the same tactic again, fear. All right, he's pushing fear upon the public, and these people are really about to lose it, all right, because they have nothing left else to lose. They can't afford groceries like that anymore. If everything is going up, I believe November 1st is when Trump, puts the 100% tariffs on China. So that's really going to fuck up the economy even more, all right? So you're about to see empty shelves, all right? Of course, an orchestrated famine, all right, orchestrated by Esau. And things are about to get real fucking chaotic. All right, and all this is all planned out. right? All this is planned out by Esau. But here it goes to show you that the right and left, the blue and the red, are at the end of the day, it's just two wings on the same bird. All right, two wings on the same bird, the same agenda. All right, the New World Order to eventually start implementing the RFID microchip underneath people's skins. All right, but say Senate Democrats have now voted 12 times to not fund the food stamp program, also known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. Bottom line, the well has run dry. At this time, there will no be benefits issued November 1st. We are approaching the inflection point for Senate Democrats. They can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures, or reopen the government so mothers and babies and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. So you see, all right, it doesn't matter what side you believe in, whether the Democratic side or the Republican side. They don't give a shit about you. All right, they're working both together, all right, to accomplish an agenda, and that's the New World Order to eventually, all right, which will be implemented globally, worldwide, to implement the RFID microchip underneath people's skin. All right, underneath, implemented, implanted under in the hand or on the forehead, whatever. It's still the mark of the beast. All right, and it's going to be the new way of buying and selling. All right. So here, Esau is orchestrating, an order at KO. All right. Problem, reaction, solution. And shit's about to get wild. Right? But nonetheless, enough talking. I mean, still talking, but we're going to go into scriptures. It says 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, we are not ignorant of his devices." And that's right. The Lord revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. The Lord, gave us the understanding, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures, so that we can be built up in the faith. All right, and the Lord, has, the Lord has showed us that. The Lord showed us what this devil desires. So I just have allergies, so I might speak, a little low and shit, but bear with me. But yeah, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, all right? The Lord opened our eyes to see what this devil is doing. And right now, right, he's planning to orchestrate, he's about to orchestrate an orchestrated famine. All right, you're about to see your shelves run dry. All right, people are gonna be killing each other for resources in these last days. We're in them times right now. We're in the time of Jacob's trouble. It's only going to get worse. Storehouses shall be found empty. And that's right. This is what we're about to see. All right, storehouses, your grocery stores, they're about to run dry because of this very event. All right. Now, we don't know for sure because we're not there yet. But hey, it literally feels like all these people are about to be in full-on panic mode. Because, again, Esau is pushing that he's getting these people desperate, all right, when they're in the time and need for assistance. And now he's taking away those assistance away from them. These people are really about to lose their shit, all right? They're not going to have any food to eat, so they're going to have no choice but to steal. But here's 2 Ezra 6:22. It says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Talking about your grocery stores that are about to be having empty shelves. All right? It says, and the trumpet shall give a sound when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. And the springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So yeah, people are going to be fighting each other against each other, even friends, like enemies, all right, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. That's right. So we're in the time of Second Edges, chapter 15 and chapter 16, all right? We're in the perilous times right now. But yeah, this is the shit that we're about to see, all right? It says, I'm going to start with verse 14, actually. But it says, woe to the world and that that dwell therein, for the sword and destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. The sword being the modern day weapon, the gun, or whatever weapon these people be using. Alright? They're going to be fighting each other. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, invading one another, they shall not regard the kings nor princes. And that's right. This November 1st thing that's about to go down, where these people are not going to be able to receive any aid, any assistance from these programs like SNAP, EBT, all these assistance are about to be cut off. Medicare, Social Security, right, and so much more. All right, these people are going to be going nuts without it because America's at its critical point right now. People can barely afford shit, right? Everybody's going broke. People are going to be having to feel the need to steal because, like, again, all right, they're going to be thinking about, damn, what's my next meal? When will be my next meal? Will I be able to eat? All right, will I be able to feed my children? Like, how am I going to feed my children? You know what I mean? This is what these people are going to be thinking, right? And they I give credit to Apostle Tahar and Apostle Slacken. I give credit to Apostle Tahar and the elder Amawan Gabar, all right, because they were speaking on the same thing, right? And so I was thinking about, what, let's do a lesson on it. So this is what I'm doing, doing a lesson on it. But it says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings or princes. And that's right. Right? These people, they're about to lose their shit, right? Because they have nothing else to lose. All right? They're not going to regard the law enforcement, their the politicians, or their government, right? In the time of trouble, right? They're gonna take matters into their own hands, and you can see that coming right around the corner. Food riots, right? Food riots. And the course of the action shall stand in their power. They're going to take matters into their own hands. And man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And when all hell breaks loose, right, when he shall see all this chaos, being unleashed upon this earth, right, mainly here in America, he's going to have an excuse to declare martial law, and Esau's ready. All right, Esau's ready. And you also got to remember that DOD directive that was signed into law, last year, all right, in September 27 of 2024, the levels of authority for law enforcement, all right, the government is basically giving authority to law enforcement to use bodily injury or lethal force against civilians, all right, during the time of trouble. And that's what we're fastly approaching, right around the corner. All right, they're about to use the sword. Esau's about to come down with great wrath upon you, Jake. He's about to use sword. He's about to use his sword, his blessing, against you 2/3 of Israelites. All right. It says, for because of the pride, he's about to declare martial law. All right. That's why it says, a man shall desire to go into a city, he shall not be able. You're about to see checkpoints. You're about to see FEMA camps, all right? Esau's gonna be throwing people in FEMA camps, right? All right, when the martial law gets declared, he's about to block off, cities from cities where you're not be able to travel from one point to another, right? He's about to implement, that central bank digital currency, the UBI, Universal Basic Income, the social credit score system, all right? He's about to implement all of that, all right? This is why he's pulling the strings right now, all right? Because, he knows that he had but a short time. He sees that his time is almost up. That's why you're about to see mass chaos on this earth that he is about to orchestrate, all right? That he is currently orchestrating right now. That says, a man shall have, verse 18, for because of the pride of the city shall be troubled, and houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And that's right, it's because of the pride of our people. Right, the Lord is pointing the Spirit on Esau to do these things. The Lord is pointing the Spirit on Esau to come down with great wrath upon 2/3 of our people because of their pride, because they turn their backs against Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, and the Lord, all right, will have no choice but to punish them death by pain. All right, because when he called, all right, these people refused to hearken. They refused to listen. Right, except they continue to rebel, so the Lord is gonna have to destroy them, right? Because they're not right. They're not right in the spirit. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread for great tribulation. That's right. All right, Esau's, people about to spoil each other with the sword, all right, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. An orchestrated famine that we're about to see here in America, all right? Famine in diverse places. There is food, all right? As what my elder says, there is food, but it just won't be available to you, right? And it's still going to get fucking crazy, right? People are still going to pine away because of the lack of nutrition. Or destroy. And that's right. 2nd Ezra 16. I'm going to start verse 21. It says, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth, they shall think themselves to be in good case. Even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And yeah, these people, middle class families, whatever, these people that can afford a grocery still now, meanwhile, they don't realize that evils are growing upon the earth, all right? The sword, famine, and great confusion. And they don't realize that these shelves are about to run dry, all right? These grocery stores are about to run dry. They don't realize that these food banks won't have enough for 41 million plus people, all right, to feed. And this is 41 million people all across America that we're talking about. It's like damn, fucking allergies. But the number's probably higher than that. It's probably higher than 41 million. All right, and that's what's going to be so crazy about it, because a lot of people are going to be in that desperate mindset. All right. But yeah, verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. That's right. All right, a lot of people are about to perish of famine, starving to death. All right, you're about to see people, the rib cage popping out. You're about to see cannibalism here in America, pillaging and shit. All right, people hacking each other to death. All right, that's why I say shall, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. That's right. People are going to be destroying each other with the sword, spoiling each other's goods, breaching into each other's homes. All right, ravaging each other's wives. All right, it's about to get real perilous out here in the streets of America, and the Lord is not playing no more. It says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be casted down. And that's right. There's gonna be dead bodies all over the streets of America. All right, a lot of bloodshed that you're about to see. It says, and there shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. All right. And these people, there's nobody's gonna pick up these dead bodies, all right? Nobody's gonna be cleaning them. There's gonna be trash everywhere. This place is going to be real unkept. It's going to look like, the movie To the Lake, right? Or the movie Bushwick, or the movie 2024 Civil War. All right, Leave the World Behind. What else? The Last of Us TV show series. All right, it's really about to look like just like that. It says there shall be no man left to till the earth into soil. Because why? People are, the men are going to be dying. All right, men are going to be scared, and men are going to be dying. All right, but the only ones that are not going to be afraid and will be protected in these perilous times that we're entering into is the Lord's elect. All right, the Lord's elect are the only ones that are going to be covered in that day, according to Psalms 91. All right, Psalms chapter 91. And everybody else that's outside of Psalms 91, you are fucked. All right, the Lord is about to destroy you. All right, you're gonna have no hope. And it's not going to look really bright for you at all. But it says, the trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men. That's right. These people are going to be dying of the wars that are coming. The racial wars, the civil war, all right, the political wars, the wars overseas. Because you got to remember, there's also going to be a draft coming too. All right. It says, the trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men, so that one man shall desire to see another, and to hear his voice. You see how drastic that is? All right? A man desiring to see another. All right? You're going to see a lot of dead bodies, right? You're going to be seeing people, all right, killing each other. And there's going to be very few people on this earth, all right, that will desire to see another. All right, just like what for example, those apocalyptic movies. All right, there was, for an example, To the Lake, or the one movie How It Ends. All right, there was barely people around. All right, cities desolate and shit. All right, cities are totally gonna look like a war zone. Everywhere's going to look like a war zone all over the streets of America. It says, but nonetheless, all right, let's go back to the point where, there's crazy shit happening, all right? Federal workers line up at food banks. You see, furlough federal workers turn to food banks as shutdown drags on. And these food banks are running dry too, right? But these people are about to go on full-on panic mode. November 1st and continuing on, so on and so forth. All right, now I don't know if this is going to be a fast process or people are about to lose their shit, but there's no doubt, all right, there's no doubt that these people will start looting the grocery stores. It'll be Edomites, so-called the white man going to these stores looting people, looting the grocery stores. Jake, these heathen nations, all right. It's just not just Jake, but it's really going to affect Jake for the most part. All right, because that's what Esau wants to target. All right, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, he's about to point the finger on you Israelites, right? So he can come down with that great wrath, because Esau knows that he has but a short time. Federal workers are being furloughed because of this government shutdown, working without pay. We already know that. All right? We already know that. I'm gonna get out the grinding season, because that's what we're about to see. You got Edomites telling you, oh yeah, get your ghetto ass up and get a job. Well, guess what? In this time, especially in this time around, all right, it's hard to find a job. All right, it's hard to find a job like that. All right, a lot of people are struggling. You got ghost jobs out there on websites that these fucking employers don't even check. All right, these employers, at the last minute, they just say, "Oh yeah, we're not hiring and shit." You know what I mean? There's work out here, but soon there's about to be none of that. All right, it's about to get real dire out here. It's about to get real tough. All right, but it says Ecclesiastes chapter 4, it's like chapter 12, verse 3, and the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble and the strong men shall bow themselves, going into these elites, all right, and people that the economists, all right, they're gonna be trembling and shit. Even these elites are gonna be trembling because they know that the Lord Yahushua is about to return, and He's about to judge these Edomites. But not only these Edomites, but 2/3 of our people as well. But it says, in the days when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. So that's right, we're entering a economic depression 2.0. All right, there's going to be barely any work. All right, the grinding is ceasing. It's going to be tough to find a job, and it already is. All right, it's just getting started. We're in the beginning of sorrows right now. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So yeah, the mirth is being taken away from this earth. All right, people are not rejoicing anymore. These people are mourning. All right, when the wicked are in rulership, the people are mourned, and that's what you're seeing right now. Verse 5. And when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the more nonetheless, that was it for that point. But all hell is about to break loose. There's gonna be a lot of blood shedding. All right, people are gonna the love of many is about to wax colder. All right. But guess what? We gotta get colder too. All right, we gotta get colder too, because these people are about to be cold as a motherfucker. All right. These people are gonna have the mind. These people are gonna have the mindset of shit. I'm starving to death, and I'm gonna have to take matters into my own hands. All right, that's going to be everybody around you. All right. Real soon. And that's what we're basically approaching. This is days away. All right? This is days away from all hell. This is days away of all hell breaking loose here in America. But nonetheless, the elect at the end of the day will be taken care of in these perilous times that we're coming into. All right? Expect trouble. Expect things to get a whole lot worse. But hey, the hopeful elect, you will be covered in these perilous times that we're coming into. All right. But with that, I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and Shalom.